Welcome back to DK Sports Radio. You're listening to The Steelers Show. I'm Chris Carter, here with Dale Lolley, and we're getting you ready for the Steelers' opening matchup of the playoffs as they host the Jacksonville Jaguars this upcoming Sunday at 1 o'clock. Before we get into that, let's talk about our good friends, Dale, at MyBookie.ag. MyBookie.ag is the #1 place for online sports betting. You can bet on all the major sports right now. College football is over now that Alabama's the national champion, but there's plenty of basketball, plenty of hockey, and some good football playoff matchups that you can make your money on. Go now, and you can get a 50% bonus on your deposit by using promo code DKRadio, and be sure to put that in, and you'll be able to get your bonus. MyBookie.ag. You play, you win, you get paid. Now, Dale, the Steelers had a big week of, I guess, not really rest because they practiced really hard all week, but they got a chance to basically get healthy, and I think that might be one of the biggest storylines coming into this game.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at their overall health, obviously they're not going to have Ryan Shazier, and they're not going to have him for any of the playoff games, but when you look at where they are health-wise, they're in as good a shape as they've been all season long. I mean, you think about it, probably since the opener. This is as healthy as they've been, and they haven't had Marcus Gilbert for large portions of the season. They lost Stephon Tuitt 2 plays into the regular season. Yep. So they've really played most of this season, other than 2 plays this year, without somebody. So they're in good shape in that regard, as good a shape as you can be in heading into the postseason. As we saw last week in those playoff games in the wild card round. Every team seemingly lost somebody in those games, including the Jacksonville Jaguars. Had Paul Posluszny, their starting middle linebacker, leave that game. We'll see if he's back in time for this game against the Steelers. Their nickel corner, Sean Colvin. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Sean Colvin was throwing up on the sidelines during that game. So they had some issues. And, we'll see if they're 100% ready to go for this game. But it's, nobody's 100% healthy at this point in a football season. I've seen some things on posts on my stories about Antonio Brown. Well, if he's not 100% healthy, then you don't play him in this game. He's not going to be 100% healthy, even probably by the Super Bowl. Right. Guys have aches, pains, bruises, soreness. That's what happens when you play a 16-game football schedule. You're going to have issues. It's the team that is the most healthy that typically, comes through this the best. And the Steelers they might very well be the most healthy team right now.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If you look back in all the playoff runs, they've been missing somebody, whether it's Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, Ladarius Green, Marcus Wheaton, Martavis, whatever, whoever. The Steelers have been missing key players for a lot of playoff runs, and really now the only key player they're missing is Ryan Shazier. But they've been missing him for quite some time now, so they've been able to I guess strategize to work around that absence. But I think, Dale, beyond all the injury talk on whether or not the Jacksonville Jaguars will be at full strength, I think the biggest concern for them is they need to be at full capacity when it comes to executing, because against the Bills they only won 10-3, and their offense, you'd think that with the leading rushing offense against the 29th ranked rushing defense of the Bills, they would have rattled off more yards, but Leonard Fournette in large part was shut down, and Blake Bortles ran for 88 yards, which was more yards than what he passed for.
Yeah, Fournette was held to a long gain of 10 yards. He doesn't look like he's completely healthy at this point. He missed some time. That ankle issue that would cause him problems throughout his college career has continually cropped up with him, and he hasn't been as explosive in the second half of the season. And I just wonder how healthy he is, speaking of guys not being 100% healthy. Now, they do have a good array of running backs, but Fournette's going to be the guy who handles most of the carries. The big thing to me, though, is that they need anything out of their passing game, and they didn't get that last week. Blake Bortles was awful in that football game. He made a throw on the touchdown that basically is a high school quarterback throw.
Yeah, they called play action. The entire defense bit, and then he hit the tight end in the end zone.
Yeah, so that does not tell me that he is 100% ready for prime time in these playoffs. And, you're not going to beat the Steelers being one-dimensional.
And on top of that, it really didn't seem like the coaches knew we can't really rely on this guy. You and I were talking on Twitter during the game. They were throwing a ton of screen passes, and they weren't even – and most of them weren't even connecting because –
trying to get him some confidence, I think.
They couldn't even do that. Yeah. And against the Bills defense that's not that good.
Yeah, they just couldn't get anything going. He was very inaccurate. His completion percentage in the last 3 games has been 55%. And while that sounds like it's really low, that's pretty much what his career completion percentage is.
Right.
This year he completed 60.2% of his passes. That's a career best for him. If Ben Roethlisberger went out and completed 60.2% of his passes in any year, we'd be talking about what a bad season he had.
Yeah.
Everybody's saying what a great season that Bortles had. And you think about it, teams are loaded up against them to stop the run, and he's still only completing 60% of his passes. He is not an accurate passer, and the Steelers need to take advantage of that.
Yeah, and they have the secondary to do it. One thing I think is going to be interesting is how healthy Mike Mitchell is. He's been banged up with various injuries throughout the year, and he's even hinted a few times just about how much that might be slowing him down. With the week off, you got Sean Davis at full strength. You got Artie Burns, Joe Hayden, who's missed several games this year. Is this a game where you look at the Steelers secondary and it's like, look, we need you to make a play, or are they going to be kind of like, you know what, you hang back weak, you just keep executing the scheme we've been executing? Because honestly, with Blake Bortles out there, if they challenge them, that might be a time for the secondary to make those big time interceptions. Yeah,
I expect the Steelers to try to run more zone this week. They've been more of a man team down the stretch, and Keith Butler told me when I asked him last week about that. He said, look, we've been playing more man, and I think we've gotten pretty good at man, but I don't know that this is a game where they want to do that.
Yeah.
You want to run man against Tom Brady, he's not going to scramble and get 20 yards on you. But Blake Bortles can do that. So if your secondary, your cornerbacks, your safeties have their back turned to the line of scrimmage, and he breaks out of the pocket, breaks contain, he can get 15, 20 yards against you and hurt you. But I think with their receivers and Blake Bortles' inaccuracy, I think they want to play more zone in this game. And when he throws one up for grabs, go get it.
Yeah, I think that's the big. Yeah, like you said, when he gives those ones, because he's not going to be able to pick you apart. But he's going to try for those one-on-ones, and that's when Burns and Hayden can really pick at him. But also, I mean, we know the Steelers love to bring up Sean Davis into the box, throw in some Mike Hilton blitzes, and try to confuse the quarterback. This might be the ultimate time, especially if you win on first and second down. Keep their run game bottled up, and then you force them to those third and longs. Then you start to try and confuse them with those zones. I think that's the recipe for success for confusing him. And again, make sure he doesn't have those avenues to escape, because when he does, that's when he doesn't have to think. He can just run in a straight line and hope that no one gets to him.
Yeah, and the Jaguars really don't have much at tight end either to kind of test
Mercedes
you.
Lewis,
if you
what's that? Is it Mercedes Lewis?
Mercedes Lewis, Ben Koyak, who's a native of Oil City, PA, but really not much there. They aren't speed guys. They're not going to beat you down the field. They're more catch and fall down kind of guys, and so try to take advantage of that. Keep Sean Davis down in the box, and if they try to sneak the tight end out, it's not like he's going to kill you with the tight end.
Right. I agree there. We'll be back to talk about the other side of the ball, the Jaguars defense versus the Steelers offense.
Football season is here, and it's time to cash in on the nonstop sports action with MyBookie.ag. They have in-game live betting on nearly every sporting event. Plus, MyBookie.ag will match your deposit with a bonus up to 100%. With decades of expertise and no-hassle payouts, you'll experience the greatest customer service in the business. Guaranteed. Use promo code DKRadio to activate your bonus of up to 100%. Call 844-900-BETS or visit MyBookie.ag to open an account. Sign up today.
Miller Lite is the original light beer, and we'll always brew it to have more taste, with only 96 calories and 3.2 carbs. Because we believe that if you compromise on taste, you can taste the compromise. Miller Lite. Hold true.
Great beer, great responsibility. 2018 Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Average analysis, 12 fluid ounces. Less than 1 gram protein, 0 grams fat.
What I want from my public accounting firm is big ideas.
But I don't want to lose the personal attention.
My company needs global capabilities.
From a firm with local ownership.
And I want to work with industry experts.
Who take the time to understand my unique challenges. And that's what sets Schneider Downs apart. Expertise for the most complex business issues. With the service you need every day. To learn how our big thinking with a personal focus can help your company, visit schneiderdowns.com.
If you're one of the thousands of Western Pennsylvanians who love to get outdoors, then you need to check out this amazing new website, stepoutside.org. Hi, I'm Dan Kovacevic of DK Sports Radio. I'm born and raised in Pittsburgh. I know about the outdoor life that's available to all of us in Western Pennsylvania. Learn where, when, and how you can go camping, hiking, hunting, Take part in power sports, shooting sports, water sports in your local community, across our region, across the country at stepoutside.org.
Welcome back to DK Sports Radio. You're listening to The Steelers Show. I'm Chris Carter here with Dale Lolley. We got done talking about the Jaguars' offense against the Steelers' defense, but we're going to talk a little bit about the Steelers' offense versus their defense. And, of course, the big story everyone wants to talk about right now, Dale, is Antonio Brown. Is he going to be finally back? You've seen him in practice, and I got to talk to people that practiced against him.
Yeah, he's going to be back.
You and I have been like he's going to be ready for the playoffs.
Yeah, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Unless he has some kind of major setback, I don't see any way that he doesn't play in this game. As he said yesterday, it's the playoffs, and you got to go. It's ready. It's time. I think he knows. And I know Antonio as well as anybody. Did a radio show with him for a couple of years, and we've talked a lot about this. He knows that to be considered one of the greats of all time, he has to go win a Super Bowl.
Yep.
And that's one of the main things on his mind. He wants to win a Super Bowl. All the stats and everything else that people think that that's all he cares about. It's simply not true. He cares about winning. He wants to cement his legacy. He wants to be one of the all-time greats, and to do that, you got to win. You got to be one of the great ones. To be considered one of the great ones, you have to have won a Super Bowl. So that's the main thing on his mind. And I think he's going to be back for this game. He looked good to me in practice. Everybody that I talked to said that he looked like Antonio. In fact, I had a chance to talk to Coty Sensabaugh about that, and we talked about a number of things, how you defend a guy like Antonio Brown if you're a cornerback. Is he very similar to Odell Beckham? How does he differ from some of the bigger guys? And how does he look? Here's what Coty had to say.
I'm assuming you got to line up against Odell some last year. How does he compare to Antonio?
They're very similar. 5'10", 5'11" guys, very explosive, fast and quick, and can run all the routes. They're very, very similar.
Maybe the two best guys in the league at route running and that kind of stuff. The little nuances.
In that category, I would say so.
Because they're not those 6'3" Julio Jones types where they can just overpower somebody.
They're not overpowering people like Julio, DeAndre Hopkins, those guys. So, I would say those. I think those two in the class that they're in, they're two of a kind. Like, really the only two like that in the league, I would say.
So when you're going against a guy like that as a defender, how do you play them differently than you would a big guy?
I think with those guys, I think you got to switch it up on them because, like I said, even though they're not the biggest guys, they're both strong. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like you're just gonna go out there and push them around. Like they fight back. So I mean, you got to switch it up. You got to play off. You got to press. You got to have some help from your safeties. Sometimes you got to roll coverage to them. I mean, there's a lot of different things you can do, but you can't just sit up and just expect your corner to play by itself on them the whole game. Either two of those guys, I mean, that's just not going to happen. I mean, it can happen, but it's not going to end up well for your defense.
Yeah. So you expect Jacksonville to help out a lot on him?
I mean, they're gonna. I feel they'll give their corners some help sometimes, and then sometimes they'll ask them to stand up by themselves. But I mean, not many teams run cover zero more than 8 to 10 plays a game.
Right.
So no defense is really just asking their corners to play cover zero the whole game. But I think both the Jacksonville corners made All-Pro, right?
Yeah.
And Pro Bowl. So I mean, they obviously have a lot of confidence in those guys, and they made a lot of plays. So we'll see how it goes.
How did 84 look out there today?
He looked like 84. That's just that's just him. He's a guy that, and I seen it Cincinnati week. I don't think he practiced all week, and he went out there and looked like himself. So I mean, I'm sure it's some rust that only he notices. Because he's himself and he knows what he does best and exactly how he does things. But from my POV, he looked like 84 to me. Besides having some tape on his legs. I mean, he looked the same to me, though.
So that's what Sensabaugh had to say, and of course he, played for the Giants last year, so he got to practice against Odell Beckham a lot. Also getting to practice a lot against Antonio Brown this year, and so he knows a little bit more about the similarities. between those two guys, and they're two of the top route runners in the league, and that's the key that makes them. That's the thing that makes them so difficult to play against. And as he said, they're not just little guys though; they're strong at the point of attack. They're strong on the ball. And that's going to be something that the Jaguars are going to have to deal with. And we saw in the last game, Antonio Brown made some plays against those two cornerbacks, the two Pro Bowl cornerbacks.
And I mean, give credit. Ramsey is a guy that he's been able to run with the small receivers and jostle with the big receivers. And I think absolutely both him and Bouye had stellar seasons for the Jaguars. But I don't think the question is about the receivers. I think it's about the quarterback. I mean, and there were several times that I think Brown beat Ramsey, and I think even Brian beat Bouye. And now you have a developed Juju Smith-Schuster. And one thing I think is going to be a key, you can't have those two guys cover three people. And even with covering the two people, they're going to whoever they decide to guard. I think it's no guarantee they're going to lock them down, because now Ben Roethlisberger, he's been like an assassin since that bye week, and now he's just had 2 weeks off. So I think the Steelers are in a position where if Ben Roethlisberger is on his game and he's reading, if he's seeing the field correctly and going through his progressions, I think he's going to be able to put the ball where it needs to be this time around, and the Jaguars secondary is not going to have as much easy pickings about it.
Yeah, and I think the key is the offensive line.
Very true.
Can they give him the time to throw the football? I think if you look back at the interceptions that he did throw the first time around against the Jaguars, several of those were because of pressure. Guys getting a hand on his arm, guys flushing him from the pocket and forcing some bad throws. I think having Marcus Gilbert back in there at right tackle makes a difference. They played that last game with Chris Hubbard in there instead. Jacksonville gets a lot of pressure with its front four. Those four front four guys combined for 43.5 sacks this year of their 55.
Right.
So they get a lot of pressure. They don't try anything real exotic. It's okay. We're going to line up with our front four. We're going to man up on the outside with your receivers, and we think our front four can get there before you can get an opening with those receivers.
And you're talking about Malik Jackson, Ngakoue, Dante Fowler, and of course Calais
Campbell. Yeah.
Those are some four bad dudes. Yeah. And I think that
all four of them had at least 8 sacks this season,
which is insane when you think about a front four. But they're also going up against a Steelers offensive line that's pretty good themselves. I think it's going to be a huge matchup. Can Villanueva hold up his end? Marcus Gilbert, he's shown in the past that he can go up against the best in the league and unlock down his edge. Communication is going to be key, making sure they're passing people off at the right time. The Jaguars, they're going to throw that occasional 5-man rush, and you just got to be prepared for when that happens. But I agree. You got to give Ben Roethlisberger the time in the pocket, let him be comfortable so that he can see what's going on back there. But also, and this is something that you and I have been talking about, the Steelers got to run the ball on these guys.
Yeah, and I think they will. I think if you look at Jacksonville's numbers, when they got Marcel Darius, everybody assumed that they were going to be, although their run defense would be so much better now. And that's not necessarily the case. I think if you look at the teams that have tried to run the football against them, and when I say tried, the teams have actually tried to do it, they've had success. This is not that run defense is the reason why this is not one of the better defenses of even this decade. People talking about this as being one of the all-time great defenses. No. It's not the case. This is not the 85 Bears. This is not the 2008 Steelers. This is not the 2000 Ravens.
They can be 2015 Broncos. Even.
Right. They can be run on.
Yeah.
And so while the pass defense is right there with some of the best pass defenses of the past decade, the run defense is the thing that holds it back. And I think the Steelers will be able to run the football against them.
Considering you got Le'Veon Bell back there, you think that you're going to get that ball carrier some attempts. And I think Stephen Ridley, he didn't look bad in the 2 games that he was able to play for the Steelers. And I think the big thing they're going to tell him just hit those seams when we give them to you. And hit them hard, and I think that's the one weakness about this Jaguars defense is behind that front four. Telvin Smith is a very fast guy,
but he's 215 pounds.
Exactly, he's light in the butt. He's going to be pushed. If you get hands on him, you can move him out of the way. I even think that's a matchup where you line up Juju Smith-Schuster in the slot or right off the tight end, and you could have him take him out of the play. And now they're
basically the same size,
right? And that's this. And Juju Smith-Schuster is a blocking wide receiver that can knock somebody out, as we saw him knock out Vontaze Burfict. So I think this is a serious opportunity for the Steelers' run game to establish itself and not just run the same things. Don't just run inside zones, but do some counter traps. Make sure get Ngakoue and Malik Jackson to think that they're coming through. kick them out of the play, that opens up more seams for them. And then you'll really test those linebackers and safeties. And once you start hitting on a few of those, that's when you'll see Barry Church start to creep up a little bit, and you hit him right over the top.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's all well and good in theory. We'll see if the
right. Theories. That's the thing. I'm strictly talking about just the X's and O's, what I would plan for. But who knows what's going to happen on Sunday?
Yeah, and weather can play a factor. And you know, one thing that people don't look at, and I think this is something that was very critical in Jacksonville's win last week, is how is the game officiated? I think that game. Point. I think the game against Buffalo, they allowed the cornerbacks to get a little grabby.
They did,
and I think when you do that, it favors that defense. You know, I think Buffalo their receivers just could not get off of the jams and those kind of things. So we'll see if that continues. We'll see if the game is officiated the same way, and if it is officiated that way, the Steelers corners need to take advantage of that as well.
We'll be getting a little bit more into the officiating right after this.
In Pittsburgh, we bleed black and gold and love our city. Born in Pittsburgh and now celebrating 130 years in the business, Henny Jewelers is proud to be your premier jewelry store. The holiday season is quickly approaching, so whether it's choosing that watch you've always wanted or you're searching for the ring that was made for her, trust Henny Jewelers. Visit our store on Walnut Street in Shadyside to see our extensive inventory of designer engagement rings, watches, and one-of-a-kind jewelry. For more, go to hennyjewelers.com and follow us on social.
Embarrassed by that stained carpet in your office? Tired of looking at your dull, dirty floor? My Floor Needs is here to fix that. With years of experience and 24/7 service, My Floor Needs offers stripping and waxing, carpet, tile, grout, and concrete cleaning, as well as polishing and buffing services. Call 888-67-MY-FLOOR or email info@myfloorneeds.com for a free estimate and get your floors looking like new again. Whatever your floor needs, call 888-67-MY-FLOOR.
Does your company ever miss its sales goals or struggle getting new business?
Is it tough to hire or to give reps the right tools?
Hi, I'm Dan, and I started Engaged Prospect right here in Pittsburgh to help companies like yours.
And I'm Sam. We're helping companies hit sales goals and grow their businesses.
Think of us as your inside sales team.
Our clients are experts in their fields. We're experts in inside sales.
Give us a call today at 412-715-5151.
Or visit us online at engagedprospect.com/DK.
It's been 50 years since the Summer of Love, but if you're not performing as well as you'd like, check out NEDforless.com. I'm Eric Cushy of Curtis Pharmacy. Don't pay premium prices for the little blue pill. So Denafil, the same active ingredient as in Viagra, costs 80% less. NEDforless.com. All we need is your physician's name. We do the rest. Free shipping, too. NDDforless.com. Curtis Pharmacy, Western PA's Better Way Pharmacy. CurtisPharmacy.com.
Welcome back to DK Sports Radio. You're listening to The Steelers Show. I'm Chris Carter here with Dale Lolley, and we're talking all things Steelers. Before we get into our last segment, we want to thank our friends at MyBookie.ag. MyBookie.ag is your top online sports betting center. You can go there and get a 50% bonus off of your deposit by putting in promo code DK Radio. MyBookie, you play, you win, you get paid. Now, Dale, let's have a conversation here about your boy, Al Riveron. And the call
boy.
Yeah, your boy. Yeah,
boy.
I'm just giving it to you. There's no real call for that, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just gonna put this on Dale because he can't be my boy. There was at the end of the game, Jalen Ramsey. Again, this is Jaguars Bills. Nate Peterman's in the game, and he throws a short pass that Ramsey makes a good jump on. He tips in the air, and then he catches it. And
probably interfered on the receiver.
That's another story. That's another story. But when he catches the interception, the ball does hit the ground while it's bobbling. And it was initially called an interception, reasonably so, but on the replay you could see, very similar to the Jesse James play, that the ball's hitting the ground while it's in his hands, but it's moving. And yet it went to New York, and Al Riveron said that's a catch.
He spun the wheel that he has in his
wheel of morality. Turn.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know what's a catch and what's not a catch anymore. I thought I did at one point. I guess I don't. If one of those is a catch, the other one should be a catch. Or if one of those is not a catch, the other one should not be a catch. You can't have it both ways. And that seems to be the way that the NFL is doing things right now. it's the biggest issue to me heading into this offseason, other than the TV ratings, which is a completely different thing and a separate issue. But the biggest on-field problem that the NFL has right now is what's a catch and what's not a catch, and that's going to be a big thing this offseason, as the league decides to tweak that rule to make it more understandable for the general public.
Yeah, I think it's going to be huge because, everyone's upset about it because another part of the rating things is, like, why do I want to watch something where I'm having to, like, read through a rule book to understand what a catch is? It's something so simple and it's something so fun. Like when a person makes an amazing catch, you're just like, wow, that was awesome. Like Odell Beckham Jr., that was a catch that in a game that really didn't mean much in the long run because the Giants didn't go anywhere, but it was an amazing catch. It was fun to watch, and everyone was doing it for like 2 years. I think we can get into that ratings talk because I've done stuff on that before on DK Sports Radio, but just to me, it just seems like it's a big waste of time and space that the NFL could just be using just to say, you know what, 5 seconds. Did he have control of the ball? Did he go to the ground? That's a catch.
Well, any replay that lasts more than a minute and a half is too long.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Once it goes to a minute and a half, you should have like an hourglass there.
Mm-hmm. If I can't see something definitive,
right,
I got to let that go.
Then you got to let it go, and the play stands. Now, in that instance, it would have been an interception. In the case of the Jesse James catch, where it went almost 4 minutes, it would have been a touchdown.
Yep.
Again, if you can't tell within a minute and a half of whether it was a catch or not, and you have to go down and slow things down to frame by frame to look at it, that's too much. It shouldn't be. In a lot of situations, it almost appears that the league is guessing on these things.
It really
what
does.
They think, especially when I go back again to the catch that was overruled in the Jets game against the Patriots, the Austin Seferian-Jenkins play. You never see the ball hit the ground in that situation.
Never.
At any point.
And that was probably the most egregious of all of them to me, because I'm like, are we seriously calling that a fumble that went out of bounds? Because that was the rules, that he caught it, ran with it, and I even really thought he broke the plane before the ball bobbled in his hands. But I just think that there's so many things, and it is just so odd to me that these all happen. And then like Kelvin Benjamin,
and they didn't seem to happen before, because
right.
I think the problem with Al Riveron is that he's trying to be too judicious. Do your job. Don't try to take over a football game. Your job is to look at something quickly,
mm-hmm.
and decide whether it's a catch, not a catch, whether he's in bounds, not in bounds. Your job isn't to play God in those situations and look at something from 12 different angles for 20 minutes and decide, well, no, that's going to be overturned.
Well, I think the late Judge Scalia of the Supreme Court would call that an activist judge, because someone's trying to make
and that's the problem.
Make their mark. And I think that's a fair assessment. It seems like he likes to be in those controversial times, because you know what? If he doesn't overturn Jesse James, no big deal. That's not talked about that much unless you're in New England.
But even then, the Patriots weren't going to throw a challenge on
right,
him.
That's it. You know what?
They
Bill
didn't know.
Belichick said, he said, when they asked him, when did you know that was not a catch? And he said, when they told me over the loudspeaker, because everyone thought, and you could see Dwayne Harmon's face when he was looking down. He's like, well, we just lost this game. But that moment, the Kelvin Benjamin catch against the Bills in I think it was week 17 or 16, I forget when they played the Bills. But all those moments, if you let those go, they're normal plays. And my thing is this: I think if everything was regular and normal, I would give Jalen Ramsey that interception. I wouldn't really care that much. But when you're doing all these other things, you got to be consistent.
Yeah, just consistency is all that you ask for. And in that situation, I did not feel that was the case. Would it have mattered? Probably not.
Right.
The Bills would have gotten the ball back at the.
And Nate Peterman,
they're probably
was your
not scoring there. But in that situation, I don't know how you. Again, you have one team celebrating, the other team's walking off the field. If they say, no, that's overturned, now all of a sudden you bring everybody back out again. It's too much. You shouldn't have to look at things that long. That's the thing, I think, the biggest thing that they need to tweak in that rule. If it goes more than a minute and a half, you shut it down. We can't make a decision on it. The call on the field stands.
NFL, improve your consistency. And thanks for listening, because I think we've been consistent. I work with a very consistent partner over here in Dale. He's always on the money, and we're always getting stuff done here at DK Pittsburgh Sports. Be sure to keep tuned with us, because we have a lot of stuff getting you ready for these playoffs. We got some Carter's Classroom. Dale's going to be having his thoughts throughout the week. But we will have you absolutely ready for every potential matchup the Steelers might need to worry about or exploit on Sunday. From Dale Lolley and Chris Carter here at DK Sports Studios, Keep listening to DK Sports Radio. Thanks.